Hey all, back again with my look at Riky's Overhaul, this time covering the new Empire update, which dropped a few weeks back. First, I do suggest, if you are new to Riky's mod, that you can check out my first part of my video about the greenskins update. Link is in the top right hand corner. At the start of this video, I go over the unit changes and compare them to the vanilla experience, to give you a frame of reference. So in this video, we will break down the new unit roster for the Empire. No comparison this time, just only new units, so you can see what happens with this mod. I will look at the campaign and skill trees in a later video. So the new units in the Empire update are on the whole elite units. So we can start with the Black Guard, or the Knights of War, a defensive order with a particular hatred of the undead, rarely venturing out unless to join a crusade against the vampire counts. High leadership and solid AP with anti-charge of 15. With no charge bonus to speak of, they are more of a rockery unit. Even though the defense doesn't leap off the page, they do have expert charge defense though, and they can still put a lot of damage down to any unit one-on-one. Bringing the Valor Sirens, which they swear to when they join the order, give them an eerie quiet to them when they're fighting, and deducting 5 from everybody in a large radius. A great protection unit, if not expensive at 1350 points. With their crazy armor values, they can take a lot of armor damage to take down, and if the enemy has low AP, they can last the entire battle with little problem. They also have 25% magic resistance, as well, giving them a defense against most types of attack. It can be used as a frontline force in the middle, is a good spot, but equally can be left on a flank to really make a cavalry think twice. The Right Guard Infantry, the Imperial Foot, like the Feral Knights on horseback, a feared fighting force. At the same cost as the Black Guard, this unit lacks the anti-charge of the Black Guard but provides the armour and a silver shield, but no charge defence at all. While the previous unit was useful anywhere in your ranks, I prefer this unit close to the front line. With solid damage of AP 22, this unit is effective at helping the front line. Use it to buffer a weak front battle against a more elite attack, or with a swift counter. With a shield and great defense, this unit can definitely hold its own. The Teutogen Guard are your offensive weapon of these 3 units, again at 1350 cost, and each bodyguard unit from the ranks of the Knights of the White Wolf. Off their horses and on foot, they wield the giant Warhammer, as their stats will affect this fearsome weapon. Excellent on the charge, and also have a frenzy buffing its damage even more. Naturally, on the attack is where they shine, and put them against high armor units is a great use of their damage dealing capabilities. Their melee defense should be noted less than 30, and an armor of 75, making this unit powerful but need a watch for eye on at all times. I need heavy infantry such as what Chaos have. They can quickly melt this unit, and even some cheap units can cause some damage. So where possible, make sure that they are the ones charging, and make sure they have backup. I would say, 1-on-1, this unit does not have the staying power. Yes, they will do the damage with 40 AP, but it will cost them. They do have a nice bonus to physical resistance at 10% from the Wolf Skin Cloak, which at least helps a bit, but it is an effective unit, but very vulnerable. An elite Empire unit now, the Cowberg Greatswords. Famous in the Empire and from the province of Reichland. They have struck down many elite units in the time from Minotaurs to Demons. A rare hybrid unit, which you may never seen before in vanilla, or in mods in general. The Cowberg can switch between 50 anti-infantry or anti-charge of the same value, making them an excellent tool in the army. Strong stats and 100 models make them very capable against many units. They encourage units nearby and are stubborn, making them a great flexible unit at home, as a personal bodyguard for your lord, or the ultimate fill the unit gap. Capable against larger infantry, making this unit a great tool in any general's army. Unsurprisingly, they have a high cost at 1500 points. From the Imperial Gunnery School, the Neuron Ironsiders bring a lot of damage potential to the battlefield at 1200 points. Heavy armor at 110, which is a huge increase on standard handgunners, which are only 20. They provide the shield breaker buffer as well, and have very high IP. Surprisingly good in hand-to-hand combat, and even though they're 1200 points, they can make that cost count. With such high armour and a reasonable stat line, they can certainly hold their own against any chaff in the game, making them a bit more flexible. Naturally, they're not taking any decent infantry or a good charge from a high unit of cav, but they can last long enough to help arrives. With higher than usual handgun accuracy, these are the Imperial Gunners' great elite, so make sure you get your money's worth as they can rack the kills up quite quickly. They can also use the Breast Shot ability to add some magical damage to their ammo, making them a must-have in any fight against the vampires. Are you jealous of those damn cheating Skaven with the Jezziles? Well, fear not, Eon Todmeister invented a sniper rifle, and this is the Hochan Young rifle. This unit has a huge range of 260 that can really pick apart the enemy. With a great accuracy, this unit is the one to hold and protect at the back. Make sure you have a roaming unit, such as some knights or some elite infantry, to have this unit freedom to take out the eyes of the enemy. Precision is the key, not huge volume fire, because they don't miss very often. Defense wise, not too bad, but not as good as the new Ironsides. The army is weaker, so take more care of this unit, and when alongside this unit of some artillery, this gives you a good excuse to add some more protection at the back. The Yongshanks are an interesting unit at 1,350 points. They're slightly dearer than the Young rifles. They bring above average range and a poison on their ammo. Stork and Vanguard, this unit excels at sneak attacks and can definitely catch a unit unawares with good melee stats. Bring in the dexterous ability, making them even quicker and buying some physical resistance to allow them to get away. You can file a move though, which doesn't make this unit as good as Waywatchers. They need good micro to make them as good as they can be. Keep that poison on and link them with some melee infantry to hold a unit in place, or come in from behind to take pot shots at the enemy. Interesting, but you need to prepare some cover for this unit. Yes, the melee stats are good, but no armour, and if they get caught by cavalry they would disappear fast. Before we get onto the main cav section, here are some elite horse archers to look at. Knights of the Verdant Field are from the Knights of the Blazing Sun and have natural resistance to fire at 25%. They provide some excellent vanguard prey and can team with the Yongshanks if you want to focus on a vanguard build. Excellent speed and can actually do damage on the charge, providing some interesting flexibility to your army. Again with a dexterous skill, but able to shoot on the move, they can be a nightmare for the enemy to deal with, and they're agile to get away from pretty much any unit. They can be a real thorn in their side. Never stop and keep them moving around the battlefield to provide excellent cover for your front line, and at pinch can do some sneaky charge damage. With that speed, they can easily chase down any routing units. Again, this unit can have a great place in your army. So now we can look at the various knightly orders which comes with this Yucky's mod. Each coming in at 1,350 points, and each have their own unique abilities on the battlefield. So we'll start off with the Knight and Carmine. From the hands of Tyr, these are rich and privileged, but have rules about who they can bring into the order. Dressed in vivid red armour, this heavy cavalry focuses on good heavy damage dealers, with anti-infantry of 10, but your AP at only 20. This cav are best against the more chaff-based infantry. The Skaven and the greenskins are good examples, as their defence is the lowest of their orders. Has a reasonable charge, but nothing spectacular. These are ideal craft to clear the ranks of the lower chaff units on the battlefield, as they can be quickly cut down with their high damage. They do bring a buff, Display of Wealth, giving +4 to any units nearby. A handy ability, and can certainly boost the morale as they charge in to help a using unit. The Knight's Panther are an order dedicated to the eradication of chaos, and they are spread all around the Empire, upholding the racial integrity. Melee based cav are much better at holding their own, with a bronze shield and very high defense of 48. Supporting this high armour, this is a tough unit to crack. Facing Chaos Yacht, this unit needs that defense, as the charge is not great. These are best in the grindy fight. With the ability to weaken the armour they are hitting, this is vital against chaos. With the charge speed boosted through the Crusade Aura, which gives them a slight increase of speed and charge. As you may have guessed, Chaos or heavy armoured foes like dwarves are the best bet for this unit. Damage is not massive, but they can actually grind away at a foe. and they can be left with a bit of freedom knowing they can hold their own. On to the Knights of War now. Like the Blackguard, they specialise in fighting the undead, and have their own fear mechanic, thus making them immune to this ability. Very handy against the vampires. With a bonus of infantry of 10 and pretty good AP at 36, this heavy armoured of the Knights can definitely absorb some damage, and they sport the Vow of Silence buff as well. Their old melee defense means you have to keep an eye on them and pick your targets well. Excellent for mowing down those cheap chaff units of the vampires, which have the lower health pools. The mobile debuff to the leadership can have some great benefits against the old leadership factions, especially if you're charging into the back of these units. Unlike the Knight's Panther, which are geared to fighting heavy armoured chaos, this unit can be used equally well against a lot of other factions, as that debuff can be really key in causing fear right across the front line. Gathered from the noble houses of the Empire, the Knights of Sigmar's Blood are very high impact damaging shock cavalry, with a shield for a bit more defense, and their huge charge bonus, and high damage, even though the AP is quite low. This is a classic micromanaged challenge cavalry. Charge them at the vulnerable units and get out fast before they can put any resistance down. Not really a specialist cav force against any particular faction, this unit is just good at hitting at low armor targets very hard, making them useful in most army compositions unless you are facing high armor values such as the Dwarf and Chaos can bring. Other than that, it's a useful addition to any heavy charging army. With their Judged Worth ability, making this unit a bit tougher, and a very vulnerable immune to psychology, making them pretty tough with their already high armour. Moving on to an unbreakable cav force in the Knights of the Everlasting Light from the Temple Order, are dedicated to protecting the common people. Not as good as the Knight's Panther in stats, but they are unbreakable, making them an interesting choice on the field. 10 anti-infantry, as well as their strange ability, the Ancient Curse, which makes them a bit more susceptible to missile fire. So avoid this unit against more missile heavy factions. Even with their good armour, this curse can be a bit of a downfall of this unit. Other than that, it's a great unit to run, and hold a flank down, no they won't retreat. Definitely useful as they can die down a unit for a long time with a decent melee defence. The Order of the Night's Wolf are even more vicious mounted, bringing huge damage, but as you can see have the weakest armour and defence so far. These are the highest damage demon cav force in this part, with Frenzy as well adding a bit more damage. They specialise in deleting units with a decent charge and a huge first hit, and with their 50 AP they can do a number against other cav units as well, as long as they get that good rear charge, but they are grass cannons for a cav unit. If they get caught by elite anti-charge units, this will make the White Wolf units very vulnerable, so avoid them at all costs. Sporting their cloak gives them more resistance. You just have to be more careful with this unit. You cannot really leave it young too much, so be aware of it where it is at all times. Saying this though, they can do a scary amount of damage, and when they use correctly, they can defeat most units, but I would avoid one-on-one fights. They are the ideal counter-strike unit. If you're facing a quick army, then the Sons of Man have got great abilities to help you deal with that type of speed. Based in chapter houses around the Empire, it's another shock cav unit, slightly weaker than the Knights of Sigmar's Blood. This unit has better attack due to their surf training, giving them its ability. This unit has the highest of the melee attack and speed. They also bring Frostbite, which allows you to slow down the enemy, and are excellent for chasing those skirmishers. High charge and shielded, it's a must pick against any quick army faction such as the Elves. With a Frostbite, they can slow down any skirmishing cav to a crawl, allow you to quickly clear them up. As for any charging units, make sure you don't leave them in the fight too long. I like this paired with another more durable cav, so they can apply the debuff as they're charging, and another unit can apply some more damage. Or just use this cav to run down missile units, as with its massive charge, they can really cause a lot of damage and mark a lot of kills on those weaker units. Now we turn to the demigryphs of these various knightly orders. These units come at 2000 points and bring a different tool to your army. First up we have the Blazing Sun in the Circle, a high impact unit. great stats across the board and bring some great AP at 84. With their Fear mechanic, which is across all the Demigryph Knight units, as well as the unusual tactics buff, dropping melee defense around this unit. All the Demigryph units are great damage dealers and are reasonably tough. I saw a pick against greenskins or Skaven. The damage are pretty much good against any army. Each one, like the Cav, is just to have a better home against certain factions. Like the Knights of the White Wolf, the Fell Wolf Brotherhood are the hardest hitting units of Cav, bringing the buffs Frenzy and Wolfskin Cloak. This unit can deal out all the damage, but as before they have low armour, so not the best against one-on-one or against the other Cavs. If you need that extra punch against a faction, and maybe your infantry corps is quite good at holding the front line, you can bring this unit around the back and charge them in, adding that much needed punch to your damage. Just keep away from anti-charge threats, as most can cut them down quite easily because of their low armour. 80 AP damage and armour rendering, the Knights Panther Inner Circle are heavy hitting can open over unit, boosting the Crusade Order, making them one of the quickest of the demis, and have this high melee attack. They can put a serious dent in any armoured faction, and query the unit you want if AP is a problem. With good charge, armour and a reasonable defence, they can do a lot of damage in a sustained fight, or use them as hit and run targeters. They do wreck a shield, so be careful on missile units, but the other this Cav has a great charge and has huge damage, and it's my personal favourite. The heavy armoured Knights of the Moor Inner Circle are fearsome against any melee infantry, but are not built to deal with any heavily armoured monstrous units, especially the anti-charge versions. If you pick the right target, you can just leave this unit to the feast and avoid that anti-charge because their melee defense is yakking, but they have a 15 anti-infantry buff and good AP at 80. Dropping the leadership buff as well. There's a nice solid unit. When they're not completely built for the grind, they shine on standard infantry, who don't have the AP to get through that high armour. Knights of the Tower's Fury was an anti-yard unit with a bonus of 20. This unit is built to kill anything or any monstrous unit it can face. All round solid stats, but nothing special. They do have a Snarling Rage boosting key damage, but do sacrifice some melee defense, so definitely take that into account. Best used with a unit of foot who have anti-yards themselves. Use this infantry to take the first hit and to keep that unit in place. Then you can come behind and punish them with the Tower's Fury. Combined arms is the key with a lot of these units 1v1, and they can definitely do a good job with a nice supporting unit which they marry together very well. Lastly, the White Scarred Inner Circle, another anti-charge threat, but a bit more durable than the Tower's Fury. My preferred choice of the anti-charge choices, as they can hold their own and have much higher armour and melee defence. I can afford them to put them right in the thick of the fight and leave them there, and they will do well 1v1. And one of the few cavalry choices who can be after their own, so you don't have to micromanage them as much as you do the other units. With that being the final unit, time to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching, and more content about Yuki's latest update coming soon.